All right, you're watching the Sports Roundup Show. This is our baseball segment, MLB segment. We're going to start off, of course, with the Dodgers, who got a big sweep over the Milwaukee Brewers. Only held them to 3 runs scored in 2 games, and really had a big win these last 2 days. These last 2 games, of course, winning 2 out of 3 against the Brewers. Actually, only held them to 2 runs because yesterday was a 3-0 shutout. And then, of course, Clayton Kershaw had a big performance, 13 strikeouts, 8 innings pitched. It's hard to believe in the playoffs. Clayton Kershaw had a big performance. So yeah, I think he's really silencing the critics. But let's hold the horses here. It's first round. The Brewers, as we know, under 500 going into the playoffs. And I don't think they should have been a playoff team, but we'll see. I'm still a little nervous, man.
I want Mike to just take over the rest of this. We already did we already did football and basketball together. I would just let Mike take over this because you cannot laugh, you cannot smile when Mike talk about the Dodgers. It's real, but it's also funny because Mike, he's a hardcore Dodgers fan. So
always, man. Yeah.
I just want to say, Mike, Clayton Kershaw, he did step up. I mean, it was the Brewers, 13 Ks, 13 strikeouts.
8 innings, yeah.
Step up, in 8 innings. So, I mean, I know you said the Brewers shouldn't have made it, but would you at least say that the Dodgers played well enough to win?
No, I'm not going to say that. I think Mookie Betts carried him in those 2 games, man. I mean, he had the 3 RBIs. Bellinger, Turner struggled. Even Jock Peterson was struggling. Chris Taylor, all their best hitters really didn't step up here in the 2 games. I think it was all Mookie Betts who carried him. You got to also remember that the Dodgers scored those 3 runs in the 5th only because the Brewers made an error that extended the inning. So the Brewers should have got out of the inning with a double play. So the Dodgers did get very lucky and capitalized. But Mookie Betts, he stepped up and had a big 2-game series. We can't really call that a series. There's only 2 games, but big 2 games here against the Brewers.
And so you would say the Brewers lost the series more than the Dodgers won it.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I would say, we was talking about this a couple weeks ago. This is the reason why they did this for Mookie Betts. They gave him the big contract. Of course, recent Golden Glove winner in the outfield, this and that. But you get these big name players so they can make big time plays in big time situations. And of course, the playoffs is the biggest of them all. So this is why you get these type of players so they can help you win games. Because let's say the people that Mike is always criticizing, let's say if it's the pitching of the Dodgers, sometimes the hitting, which we mentioned last week, is one of the best inside the league with the way they can go with left-handers, right-handers hitting for the Dodgers, that they can carry you sometimes to come back and win these games or to just win them a game.
As we know in the playoffs, the games are always low scoring. It's always pitching runs kind of the game. There is some exceptions, but most of the time it is low scoring, and that's what we saw here in these first 2 games. It was all pitching. The Brewers pitched fairly well in both games, really holding everybody to practically nothing. They really couldn't only stop Mookie Betts and a couple errors and bad walks there, but they pitched the best they could. They just couldn't hit against the Dodgers. That's really what it came down to. Ryan Braun got injured early in Game 1. Missed Game 2. That was a big loss. And then Christian Yelich has just had a terrible season this year, only hitting 200, and it continued in the playoffs. He did pick up a double, I think, on Game 1, but I mean, that was pretty much it. Their 2 best players weren't there. And then their best reliever, also Devin Williams, wasn't in the series. So that I think a lot of things amounted to the series ended up the way it was. It wasn't really a competitive series. To be honest, the Brewers were never really they were never really in it, to be honest. I mean,
and they weren't really supposed to make it.
No, they weren't supposed to make it. Giants had a chance to make it on the last day.
Because we was talking about this last week, that it was going to come down to Giants Also, Angels had a chance to still get in. I
Well,
know
they're in the American League, yeah.
they're American League,
Yeah.
but if
The
they would have
Giants had a big chance.
so Giants, so
The Phillies,
but so the Brewers weren't even supposed to be inside there. So
no.
the Dodgers were supposed to do what they were supposed to do. Now moving forward, Mike, what do you think that they still have to work on?
Well, I mean, it all depends what happens today. San Diego, St. Louis are playing. The winner of that game plays the Dodgers. I think if San Diego pulls off tonight's win, I really think the Dodgers are going to sweep them. I think San Diego is pretty deflated right now. They've lost their two best pitchers. I know they have a lot of good hitters, but I think the Dodgers can find a way to get them out. And I just think San Diego doesn't have enough pitching. They gave up, I think, 9 runs yesterday. They gave up 7 on game 1, 16 runs already in 2 games. So I just don't think they have the pitching to beat the Dodgers. Now, St. Louis, they can pitch. So they do have a couple good pitchers. And they have Paul Goldschmidt, who's always done very well against the Dodgers, one of the best hitters in the whole game. So, and he's been doing great here in these first 2 games. So I do think St. Louis will be a tougher opponent. So I am rooting for San Diego to win today.
Mike, so I'm rooting for San Diego.
Yeah, I'm rooting. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I want to mention when you start the conversation that San Diego also wasn't supposed to make it to the playoffs. When they start, I want to go back to earlier inside the season. We kind of talked about this like a month or so ago, but even when the season was about to start, people were saying that it was going to have the worst record. And one, at least not if not the worst record, then one of the worst records inside the association. So if the Dodgers can get 2 series like that, to where 2 teams that one person make it and get past them, and they can get their rest, they ain't got. Hopefully, nobody gets injured.
Yeah.
Playoffs injuries, it always comes down to which team has the best amount of luck. So if the Dodgers can get past that also, then that would definitely be something on the upside to look about for the Dodgers.
Yeah, and then also talking about other results, the Marlins sweeping the Cubs today, only holding the Cubs to 1 run in 2 games at Wrigley Field. As we know, the Marlins have never lost a playoff series in their franchise history. The 2 times that they made the playoffs, they won the World Series in '97 and 2003. So the Marlins once again shocking the Cubs in 2 games.
NLCS, Mike, Marlins and Dodgers.
It could happen. It could happen. And Don Mattingly is the manager of the Marlins, and of course used to manage the Dodgers. So that would be a very interesting series. And the Marlins got a lot of good pitchers, a lot of young players, but they can really pitch. So they're really showing that in these first 2 games. But we'll see what happens. They're going to take on the Braves, who also can pitch as well. So that's going to be a very tight defensive series between the Braves and Marlins next week. But the Dodgers, I think the Cubs were going to be a threat to the Dodgers. I think they had the World Series experience, and now they're out. So I think that's good for the Dodgers. The Dodgers should be in the World Series. I think they're clearly the best team in the National League. And then in the World Series, we'll see who they play. But I think in the National League, they are the clear favorites to go all the way.
And I wanted to say something about the Marlins. I know over the past, probably say 10, because I know in baseball you build up the systems from the single A, double A, triple A for years. So the Marlins, I know because you're mentioning the young pitchers and whatnot. They started. Marlins did one of the craziest rebuilds. You hear teams always talking about rebuilding.
Yeah, but
Marlins they did a reconstruction.
Yeah,
Marlins almost changed their name. That's how bad they were. So
yeah.
They started so they was I know you can speak to this more than me, but I just want to say, but they were rebuilding for years, to at least probably 10
years.
From single A, double A, triple A to up to now, and it paid off.
Yeah, and of course they haven't been in the playoffs in 17 years. But of course this was a 60-game season, so they made it in a 60-game season. That plays a lot into it. But moving forward, the Marlins.
Little jab, Mike. Yeah. Little jab.
Think about it. Yeah, 60 games. It's usually 162. But moving forward, they'll be a competitive team. They got a lot of good pitchers, which is always really hard to get, as we know. We see other teams like the Angels. They have a lot of great hitters, but they have nobody that can pitch, and that's pretty much what it comes down to.
And then it was Marlins who was 17 years, and what was the other team? So I know it
San
was only
Diego.
two teams this year.
San Diego's first time in 14
14 years.
years.
So that 60 games could have definitely helped out, like you
It
mentioned.
definitely did, because we know it's a long season, not this year. So we'll see what happens. We'll talk about this more next week on the show. Dodgers will be playing next week in the NLDS starting Tuesday. We don't know who yet, but we'll find out today.
I want to say one last thing before we wrap up, Mike. I think I found out Thursday or Wednesday that the World Series is going to have fans, right, Mike?
Yeah, there will be fans in the World Series and Championship Series in Dallas.
And
So
Shane.
two series. There'll be close to 12,000 fans. So that's good news. We hopefully
You
it
driving,
works out.
Mike? You
No,
driving
see
over
the
there,
thing is, you got to buy
Mike?
4 tickets to get in there. They don't let you buy 1 ticket, so you have to buy a 4-seat pod, for social distancing. So if you don't have 4 people, it's kind of like it's kind of tough. But yeah, for those of you that are gonna head out there, hopefully it's a great experience. We haven't had any fans all season, so hopefully that works out. I want to thank everybody for watching the Sports Roundup show. Make sure you subscribe to our page. Like us on Facebook. We do this every Friday, right here on the internet. So make sure you tune in.